What is going on to YouTube and Spotify? This is episode 14 of the Just BSN podcast. Um, we do apologize if we're gonna be a little low on the energy today because the both of us are kind of going through it. Uh, Andrew here has been sick, pretty much dealing with what I dealt with last week. Even though we didn't see each other, so I don't know how that happened. If I coughed through the mic a little too hard and you got some on you, I don't know. But I'm dealing with some good old plantar fasciitis, which if anybody has ever had that, um, let me know in the comments how you dealt with it, because I'm currently just not here. Like everything hurts, but I got it because I was in New York last week. It was a lot. It was a lot of fun, but we walked around a lot, and I don't think I had the best shoes for that walk, so ultimately I pay the price. It is what it is, but we're here, we're live, and we got a lot to talk about today. And the obvious one that we got to start with is the Browns, because we are not only like a legit team with Flacco, but we're now becoming a playoff team. Like, we have a chance to literally clinch the playoffs this year for this game this week.
Yeah, no, dude, like what we did this past weekend was absolutely crazy. Like I had like as soon as Joe Batonio went down, like was it like the first couple plays, I was like, oh shit, here we
Yeah.
go again. Like the meme of GTA San Andreas. No, the oh shit,
Oh
here we
shit,
go
here we go
again.
again. Yep.
It's like god damn it, not another injury, especially to a Pro Bowl tackle, a Pro Bowl guard. Like, you don't want him to go down. Like, this is the guy you want on the field at all times.
Yeah.
So now we're down to just Wyatt Teller at this point, and you pray to God that nothing happens to him. Knock on wood. Like we need him to survive. And I remember I was like, what about Alex Leatherwood? Why can't we get him? I just realized he's injured too.
Yeah,
So
he's hurt. He's hurt now, I guess, too,
I
which
was like,
I wasn't
of
really aware
course.
of until this week. So
I wasn't either because I was like, oh well, for James Hudson, you could put in Alex Leatherwood. I was like, oh shit, he's hurt too. Like, it makes
yeah,
sense. Why is everyone injured?
yeah, everybody is, and I know. I think last week they put up a thing and said, excuse me, that the Browns starting roster has 23% of that starting roster on IR right now. So
Ridiculous.
Um, anybody that says, "Oh, the Browns are getting lucky," blah blah blah, it's like, dude, luck has nothing to do with this at this point.
We're
This
lucky to
is
be
just,
alive.
yeah, we're just fortunate enough to still be even with a winning record, and the guy or guys, I should say, uh, to blame for that or to applaud for that. I mean, starting off as Stefanski, dude, we cannot say enough about the fact that this guy has to win Coach of the Year. With what he's done with the roster that he's done it with, winning games with four different quarterbacks this season, um, being without a lot of your starting lineup, especially on offense. You have JV guys on your, your offensive line. You're again down to your fourth quarterback. You're down to running back 2, 3, and 4. Um, one of which was brought in later because Chubb went down. Um,
Yeah.
and you've dealt with quite a few, injuries on the other side of the ball as well, and still we sit at 9-5 somehow. And dude, I really had a weird feeling about this Bears game. I really thought the Bears game was going to be a trap game for us,
Same.
just because the Bears were playing well. Like, they've won a few games. Their confidence is getting up there, and I mean, to me, this is all already sort of a more successful year for the Bears, considering where they've gone from and where they started out this year. That's enough success for them, but they're probably going to win another game or two this year, I would think. But yeah, that was a scary game, and Flacco did not start off well, but the dude had one of the better fourth quarter performances I've seen out of a quarterback in quite a long time. Um, I mean, he threw for over 200 yards in the fourth quarter, 11 of
Yeah.
13, two scores. I believe he just absolutely went off, and it was really fun to see. It just continues to create belief within this team, and I think the players have beyond bought in. They know what they have in that room every day, and they're not scared to play anybody. And we've been waiting for that, and I think we have it. And again, it starts with coach because the coach has just been wow, what a season for him, man. Like honestly,
Yeah, no, dude, we have to give so many props to Kevin Stefanski for what he's been doing all season. Like he again, we talked about this last week too. Like he is coach of the year, hands down. Like he has to be, especially if he makes it. If we win again and we make it to the postseason, like if he's not crowned coach of the year, then this whole NFL season is rigged. Like everything's fucked up, and,
yeah.
and like this makes no sense. Like how does 23% of your entire roster get injured and you finish with a positive record and make a playoff? Like that doesn't happen ever. Like when teams get injured like this, the season's done. They just totaled the season. They're like, yeah, fuck it, we're done. Like we'll just try and scrape like a top like 10 draft pick at this point or
Yeah.
something like that. Like we'll scrape something out of this. And like the Browns are like, I mean, shit, we have a winning record. We might as well just go for it full send. And I mean, everyone, and it's not even just Kevin Stefanski too. Like the players are doing their part too. Like we talk about the next man up mentality, and I think the entire roster has it because even the backup tackles, like the third string, fourth string tackles we have, like, and I'll throw James Hudson in there too. They're grinding and working hard, man. They're doing everything they can to make sure we win football games, and I think that speaks about the leadership you have in all the positions of whether it's Joe Flacco and Wyatt Teller, Kareem Hunt, Denzel Ward, Miles Garrett, all these veteran guys and all these leaders are like, listen, man, we're not going to give this shit up. Like, as long as our defense stays healthy, we're in every single game we play. And as long as this defense stays healthy, like, we will be in every single matchup in every single game. Like, we've proven we could beat the 49ers.
Yeah.
We've proven we could beat the Ravens. We've proven we could beat Jacksonville. We've proven we could beat every single team. Like, every team, and I've heard this a lot from other pundits and stuff on ESPN and stuff like that. Every team in the AFC is very much beatable this year. Like, there's no like clear cut like, oh, the Ravens are probably the clear cut favorites to go to the Super Bowl because they're just dominating. Like, they're not even dominating games. Like, they're barely scraping out wins. Like, they could barely scrape out a win against the Colts. They're barely scraping wins against these teams. Or well, they lost to the Colts, but they're barely scraping out wins against these like mediocre teams. And it's like every team in this, at least in the conference of the AFC, like, is very much beatable. Like, and even the 49ers shown weakness. The 49ers are sitting there like, listen, yeah, we're dominating the league, but we lost to some scrub teams this year.
Yeah. And
and
the Eagles are starting to struggle as well. They've lost 3 straight now, right? Like,
yeah, they lost 3 straight, and they just lost to Seattle to Drew Lock.
same with Dallas. Dallas just lost again too, I think.
And I've always felt like Dallas was always vulnerable because, like, I mean,
It's just how they're built.
Well, the thing is, it's like, and I've said this before, and I said it on Twitter too. Like, every team, like, they've only beaten one team, and that was literally like 2 weeks ago. They beaten one team finally, and that was the Eagles 2 weeks ago. One team about with a 500 record or above. Other than that, all the teams they've beaten were teams that had under a 500 record.
Yeah.
So it's like, cool, you're beating all the shit teams, and everyone's praising like Dak as like he's the best in the league right now, and it's like, oh, and then he goes up against the Bills and gets smoked, and he goes up against the good teams and he gets fucking smoked.
Like, it to me, it sounds like Miami as well, because Miami is another team that I feel is the same way, where they really haven't beaten anybody that's like truly a competitor. And
Yeah,
it is, dude. This has been such a weird like season. Like, it really has. This has been one of the weirdest NFL seasons ever. There's been tons of injuries to star people, good ones, because I mean Chubb is one of the best ones. And to see him go down, especially early on in the season like this, it's been a weird season, just in general. And this is one of those years where anything can happen. And I think, if we get into the playoffs, if we can somehow win out and somehow by the grace of God himself get us a first seed, that first round bye would be gigantic because then it would guarantee you getting guys like Del Pitt and Thornhill back almost instantly to help that defense. And it would give you a chance to just, again, get some damn rest because this team is just so beat up that we would take anything. But I
It'll
don't
get you
think
a
that's
lot of
going to
guys
happen.
back.
Right. And like, do I think that's going to happen? No,
No.
no. I don't. Like, it's a really long shot. I mean, it's possible, but it's a long shot, and I just don't want to put my eggs in that basket because I feel too greedy at that point, with just how everything's gone. I think it's really important to just say, listen, and I've pretty much, I, I'm pretty sure that I have tried to say this at least once or twice on here, but the Browns alone going to the playoffs is a
A
big
win.
enough Super Bowl for us in itself, considering what's happened this year.
Yeah,
Um,
now we would have different standards if we were obliterated. And I like it feels just a quarterback situation where like yeah, Deshaun went down and we got Joe Flacco stuff like that, and we still had everyone healthy. Like
it'd be
completely
different, yeah.
different story because like I'd be like, listen, we could
First seed,
honestly go
yeah,
all the way.
yeah.
We could go all the way, or we could be the number one seed. And it's like, but now that we're completely decimated, we're on like our last every single position in the league. It's a little bit tougher, and I think people are realizing like what the Browns are doing is absolutely insane. And even if we don't get that bye, like everyone's. I've seen a lot of people, especially like Good Morning Football and stuff like that. They're predicting that the Browns could make a run in
Yeah,
the postseason. Like they could
yeah. They're
make a
just
good run, even with the injuries. Because again, with the injuries, we beat the Ravens, we beaten the 49ers, we beat team. We're what was it like 4-1 against the teams at the top of the division.
yeah.
Like it's ridiculous. Like and we're decimated, and we are being the best of the best. And I don't see how people can ignore that because I know there's people ignoring like your cowards and your Adam Ranks who are ignoring it. Like they're
Adam Ranks is losing his mind on Twitter this week. By the way, it has been
oh,
hilarious. I don't know
it
if you
was the
guys have seen
greatest.
this. He was trying to rebuke Chiefs score that he had last week, saying that he was, out of bounds and whatnot. It was a toe tap. Like it was a two-toe tap. He was in. It was even reviewed during the game. And he
Yeah,
still was like, "Oh, it was bad." I'm like, "Dude, shut up and take your L. You've gotten one game right this season, if not two games, on your prediction on us going 6-11. Dude, quit. Like I'm so tired of these guys on these sports lists and stuff talking about sports when they don't understand sports. Like they don't understand how a roster is built, how a team is coached, the things that they added this year alone. I mean, we give Stefanski his props, but make no mistake about it, he doesn't do it without Jim Schwartz. In my
absolutely not.
humble opinion,
Yeah.
Jim Schwartz has, I mean, he has locked down our defense, but I think whatever he's done in his sort of preparation has helped Stefanski and, in his own. And it's a thing I think he really needed that he didn't think he needed. And it's just absolutely done wonders. Like Jim Schwartz has been a diamond in the rough for us, and it's been great. And the players love him, obviously.
Miles
And
definitely does.
right, you know, and that's a whole nother thing too with Miles getting held almost all game last week. It's just
what
becoming a more common occurrence, but
what the worst thing is too is like Roger Goodell was in the stadium
yeah,
too for that game, and Miles was held like four separate times. All four probably would have led to a sack as well,
mm,
and he got tackled on two of those,
tripped up
and
on once, yeah, like
it's
yeah.
like, oh my god, like how are you oblivious to these calls? Like these are so blatantly obvious, and they're just like, well, he called us out, like we're not gonna call him since he called us out. It's like, okay, well, it doesn't mean you have to be shit at your job
Right,
or,
like
or
still call a
retaliate.
fair game. Like stop being so like the and this is a weekly conversation we're starting to have now with these damn refs, but like the ego thing has got to stop. Like the
Well, and
ego has to be set aside. Just
the, the
call the game.
the biggest argument I've seen too from other like opposing fans, more or less Steelers, like AFC North fans and stuff like that, are like, well, they can't call like every holding play because then it just wouldn't be right. Like they gotta let them play sometimes, and it's like, well, if they get called for it every time, they won't do it anymore.
Mm-hmm.
And they're like, well, then I was like, okay, who cares if Joe Burrow got sacked by Miles Garrett 9 times in a sequence? Like, if that's what happens, then that's what happens. Just because Miles
Right.
is that damn good, like,
Yeah.
he's gonna get hit no matter what. Like, you just because they're like, well, you can't call holding all the time. You have to let them play. And it's like, okay, but when it's so blatant and obvious, like, you have to at least call it. Like,
Yeah.
if it's one that's like, okay, it wasn't like that egregious. Like, okay, I'll see why you let it slide. Like, okay, was it super egregious? It didn't affect anything.
Right.
But when he's getting tackled like right next to the quarterback, like and drugged down and stuff like that, or he's being completely held by up his here and
Mm-hmm.
up to his neck and stuff and being held back when he's literally like inches away from making a play, you should probably call those because those are sacks that he's not getting.
Yeah.
That he probably would be the sack leader right now. He probably would have had 4.5 just by himself this past weekend.
Yeah. And I mean, he had it the last time we played the Bears too. So I
Yeah.
mean, you know, and it's, you know, the whole like defensive player of the year conversation too. You know, I get that he has not had the high amount of sacks that like Watt
It's
and
not
them
just
have,
about the sacks.
but it's not just about the sacks. If you're like, if you're obviously just a general fan
Steelers
of the
fan.
game, yeah, Steelers fan of the game, that they just don't understand football. Like there's plenty of Steelers fans that know. I do follow some,
Yes.
and
That
they're
are very
fine.
knowledgeable, yeah.
And they're fine. And they're knowledgeable. They know what they're referring to, and they're not idiots, okay? But then you have just these, oh my god, it's almost hilarious to watch. Like I
TJ
thought
had more
Bengals fans
sacks.
were bad. Like I thought Bengals fans were bad at that, but the Steelers fans have that topped out to a T. And listen, there's bad apples in every fan base. The Browns have plenty of crazy, dumb fans too. We get it. We know it. You
Yeah.
don't have to tell us. But like, come on. Like,
And
quit with that crap.
what I find funny is like everyone's like, well, TJ has more sacks. He also has more interceptions and stuff. It's
Mhm.
like TJ's a
Miles is
linebacker.
Yeah, yeah.
He's gonna
Miles
drop
is
into
not.
coverage. Yeah, one's gonna drop into coverage. The other one's a legitimate defensive edge whose job it is to go and get sacks. Like
Yeah,
it's
like,
not
that's
Miles
part of
Garrett's
the
job
scheme
to
anymore.
yeah, Miles Garrett's job isn't to drop into coverage and go for a pick or make a big booming play in the middle of the field. No.
No.
TJ, yes, but like there's times where TJ, yeah, he'll line up as like a linebacker and then run straight to the quarterback free because
Mhm.
he's not lined up on the edge.
Yeah.
Now when he's lined up on the edge, he gets his ass kicked every single time because he can't handle the big lineman. I mean, look at he couldn't handle DeJuan Jones.
Yeah.
Like DeJuan Jones even pancaked his ass.
Well,
like
and he's also very much a cleanup artist.
yeah.
People don't want to admit that, but Watt is a 100% a cleanup artist, and there's nothing wrong with that. But like,
That defense is
he
Highsmith.
cleans up a lot.
It's Highsmith and Hayward.
Yeah.
They get to the quarterback when the quarterback runs away. TJ Watt's there to clean it up.
Yeah. And that's fine. If that's your way of playing the game and it works, then fine. That's fine. But like,
Yeah, I'm not saying it's bad
don't-
defense.
but like, don't say that like he is this like truly just dominant player. Don't get me wrong. Watt is a great player, and so was his brother. But
They
they
make
both
big
have the
plays.
similar play style, where it's the defense has to kind of revolve around him in order for it to work. And
Yeah.
9 times out of 10, it doesn't work because if you shut him down, it's GG. Like, unless they're able to start creating turnovers, which they really haven't done this year, the Steelers is just, I mean, that's why they're the bottom of the barrel. Like, even the Bengals are still competing, even though they won't have Jamar Chase this week, which is going to be bad for my fantasy team. But, and I'm in the fantasy playoffs right now, man. I'm in, I got through week 1 or round 1, you know, easily. And now I have a tough one this week. This one's gonna be tough. So I'm excited. But to get back to Browns talk, yeah, Miles, they need to start calling these holds on him just to give him a chance to survive and give him a chance to actually pad his stats in a way, because he just hasn't been able to. But he's still ranking among the top of DNs every week.
Well, and also too, the problem is with not calling stuff like that is like it could also cause injuries too, because you have to like the way that Miles does get held and stuff like that. It could, if it's not called and stuff like that, and the play is blown, like it could cause some kind of injury and some kind of incident too. So the fact that they're just blatantly ignoring every single thing, like you're, these are reasons why injuries happen is when you don't call shit.
Yeah.
And when you just kind of let shit slide, and you're like, oh well, we're just gonna like, no, this is why people get injured. This is why people go down. Like, you can't just ignore it and be like, well, we didn't see it. Even though Miles was held by his neck, he probably could have been choked out. But
Yeah.
that's not a hold. Like, yeah, but he could also have slipped and hurt his knee or something. Like, these could cause injuries. Like, you have to, whatever happened to player safety, whatever happened to, what if he did get grabbed by the face mask and twist his head? That could severely injure him and
Hmm.
shit like that. Like, just because you want to be ignorant because he calls you out doesn't mean that you just let these guys just get killed.
Well, and it's like it's not just us that's complaining. I mean, every week there's a team that's complaining heavily
Yeah,
about like
Mahomes and Reed.
it's almost every game at this point. Like every game in the league has had some really bad like officiating, and it's almost becoming laughable. Like
Yeah.
it makes me very scared for the playoffs, and just are they going to continue to be this way, or are they going to all of a sudden start to make calls? And again,
Mm.
this goes back to like, dude, we gotta check these guys for betting if they don't already. But like, there is something weird going on between
Well,
them
yeah, you have to
in the
check them
league.
for like anything like betting wise or any like or like they because the one thing people don't know, and this is one thing I like about soccer a lot, is that they bring in referees who are from other countries to ref games because there's no referee bias, there's no team bias, there's no
Yeah.
none of that. So like when you watch like a Premier League game, they'll have English refs too in there, but they make sure there's no like team bias. So it's like, oh, it could be like Liverpool versus Manchester United or something. And if the ref is English, he'll be like they'll make sure you're like, okay, he has no like history with these two teams. He has like no like he didn't grow up a Liverpool fan or a Manchester United fan. Like he didn't grow up like as it because they want to make sure there's no bias in their decisions and making it one way. But and they make sure, and the one thing too is they make sure there's no betting schemes going on and stuff like that. And if there is, FIFA will actually boot them out because they don't want that kind of corruption.
Right.
And but I don't see why the NFL can't do something similar. Like, okay, number one, are they betting? Number two, is there a bias to one of the teams? Did this guy grow up to be a Bears fan?
Right.
Did this guy grow up to be a Chiefs fan? Like, we can't allow the biases of the officials get in the way of these games.
Yeah.
And if there is, they cannot referee that team for the entire existence that they're referees. Like, we can't allow them to be an official during those games because there could be a clear cut bias that he's going to call it their way. So there's so much that they need to look into when it comes to officials, like betting biases towards certain teams. Like, but we know that's not going to happen because the NFL is a business and they're all about the cash money
Oh
and they're
yeah.
all about making their billions of dollars and just ignoring what the people want, ignoring like soon enough like the NBA, the NFL and stuff, they're gonna kill themselves because
Mm-hmm.
they don't want to listen to the owners, they don't want to listen to the teams, they don't want to listen to the fans because in reality they're making billions of dollars and they're gonna sit on that fat cash until it ruins them.
Yeah. Yeah. It's just been so frustrating as a fan of of the league to just see how bad it's gotten. For the NFL, and it's a bummer. And I hope that's not is what's going on. Like I truly hope it's not what's going on, but I just have a very weird feeling about it, and We'll see. We'll see if Goodell does anything about it in the offseason. I doubt it,
I
but
doubt it.
something has to be done because if anybody is going to be able to actually like hold them in line, it's got to be him. Like,
Well,
because
yeah, it's
everybody
good.
else is
Like,
just going to get fined because they can't speak their mind about it. And that's the other thing that's stupid too. Get rid of that rule. Like, let them criticize because they're the ones playing in these games, risking their lives, risking their bodies every
yeah,
single day
exactly.
to play this game. Like at least owe it to them to have a clean game. And when it's not a clean game, make it clean, make it right, call the penalties. That's what you get paid hundreds of thousands of dollars to go do, as you know, some of these refs do. And
Yeah,
it's just been abysmal. But to go back to a lighter topic of conversation, back with the Browns, I want to point out the connection between Flacco and Chief.
yeah.
Chief is as of the last like month and a half or so, he has been probably, I would say, the best tight end in the league besides Kelsey, and it's been fun to watch because I've been waiting for him to blow up. It came a little bit later than I thought it would, but Chief has been a touchdown machine the last few weeks, and it's exactly what I thought was going to happen. It just again, it took a lot longer. But I don't know what it is about Flacco, but he is just unleashing Chief in all ways right now.
I mean, I think he's unleashing not just Chief but everybody
Yeah.
because he just throws a good ball and he's just that veteran leader that the team needed. And like you said, David Njoku was the biggest guy to be boosted from that because when it was PJ Walker, when it was DTR, he was getting put in bad situations where he had to make tough plays. He was dropping balls because the balls were either really poorly thrown or they're just zipped at him in an awkward spot to where he had to try and make a catch but he couldn't.
Yeah.
And next thing you know, you get Joe Flacco who comes in there who knows actually how to throw a football. He comes in and immediately Cooper's back to getting 100 yards receiving.
Right.
Njoku gets his first 100-yard receiving of the season. And all these guys, Tillman looks like a veteran wide receiver right now.
Oh yeah. Yes, he
It,
does.
like it's insane. Now, I do feel bad for Tillman because I do think that two of those interceptions that were had by Flacco on Sunday were kind of his fault
Mm.
because he ran the wrong route on the first one, and on the other one he just missed the catch completely. But other than that, when those things don't happen, Tillman looks really good. And to mine and your excitement, I'm sure you're excited when Marquise Goodwin was finally used in the right proper way.
Mm-hmm.
60 yards downfield, open for a beautiful basket dropper.
Oh yeah.
We've been waiting for that all season long,
Yes, absolutely.
and I'm finally glad we got it because I think for a couple of these games, I think the Browns needed those big plays where we just needed to break away that defense. We needed one like kind of bomb downfield, and
Oh yeah.
it happened. And next thing you know, it opens the defense wide open, and Cooper was getting good balls. I mean, that touchdown to Cooper was absolutely insane. How he fit that ball through that window,
Oh yeah.
especially the one to I think it was Tillman right in the middle of the field where it went through the linebacker's hands. Like you can see the linebacker hold his hands up, and the ball literally goes right through it. And it's
Yeah.
because I don't think because Tillman almost dropped it because I don't think he was expecting to catch that ball,
No.
and that shit was insane. But I mean, just having Joe Flacco on this team, my goodness, dude. Like, I talked to my dad the other day. Is like, is this what you guys felt like when you had like Brian Sipe and like Bernie Kosar as your quarterback? Like, is this
Literally.
what it feels like to have a legitimate quarterback to like that can do something and make throws and make plays? Like, this feels
Yeah.
great.
It was, dude. It has. It's been so great, especially after the fact of just like everybody doubting Watson, despite him being 4-1. I mean, he was 4-1 before he got hurt, so it wasn't like he wasn't winning. It just didn't look pretty, and it
Yeah.
hasn't looked pretty with Flacco. Flacco has not played clean games, but he's
No.
done enough, and he has thrown for 300 yards each game he's played pretty much. You know, except for the first one, which he still threw for 250, I think. You
I
know,
heard
it
today
was
I heard today he leads the league leads the league in passing yards per game at 300 like 12 yards per game.
yeah, because he's just been lining it up, and again, that fourth quarter alone, he had over two. I think it was like 211. Like he was like two.
Yeah.
He was like 11 of 13. Just absolutely lighting it up, and it became just a huge difference maker for us, and we needed it all, man. Like we really did, because the defense was keeping us in the game the whole time. And it was really nice
Yeah.
to see him just come through again. That's the biggest thing about Flacco is the dude just doesn't panic. Like if he's starting to have a tough start of the game, it's not like he hasn't been there before. Like he just knows how to win, and I think this team knows how to win. They will themselves to win, and you know we said this after the game, but this is like the first time where we've really felt like the Browns actually like aren't out of any games. Like they're always gonna keep themselves in the game,
Mhm.
and it. That's really good for us. And as long as Flacco can continue to play the way he's playing, clean it up a little bit, quit throwing turnovers. We can't afford to throw three picks or even two picks in a
Yeah.
game. It just can't happen. Like especially against good um, teams. You know, obviously the Jets are not really a great team, and the Bengals aren't going to be a good team either. So after this week, like the defenses are at least better, but their offenses are what is going to be interesting.
Well,
Um,
you're actually going against, and I think you have a better chance now because Case Keenum is going to be the starter this weekend,
right, and they don't have
and
anybody to throw to.
Nico Collins, their best receiver, who is already over 1,000 receiving yards, is now out.
Yeah,
I
Tank Dell
and
out,
Tank Dell's out for the season, so the only people they really have are the two tight ends
and
and
Noah Brown and
Dalton Schultz.
and Robert. Gosh darn, I forget his name. Woods. Yeah,
Yeah,
Robert Woods is
Robert
still on
Woods,
that team as well. So like
but
they have guys to throw to. It's just not these difference makers, like the
yeah,
true difference makers. Now Noah Brown did have like 80 yards receiving last week, but it didn't matter because they couldn't score. Like they could not put points up on the board, and um, it's in our favor. And we just got to take care of business. Like we have to win. If we can win out, that is most ideal. But after we get this game this week, that Jets game on Thursday is going to be the one that I think that's really going to clinch the playoffs. Like we do have like 8 different odds or ways that we can clinch it this week.
yeah.
But we need people to lose and win, and you just don't want to bet yourself on that. But I think after we get that 10th win, I think it's really going to be hard for us to not make the playoffs at this point with just how the AFC has really gone. And you just
Yeah.
kind of hope for the Bengals to lose. You hope that the Ravens lose. You hope that these teams that are still ahead of us lose, and the Jaguars are another team that's not really playing that well either. They, even though are probably going to win their division, they aren't going to be a team that people are going to enjoy playing because they're probably going to kick the Jaguars' ass because they've just been playing like ass the last few weeks. Um,
And if we stay where we are, we actually get them in the first round too.
yeah. So I mean, and that would be ideal. I don't think it would be a home game because I think they would have
No,
an edge
it's just
over us because they won the division.
yeah,
But
since they won a division, it would be in Jacksonville. But as it stands now, we would play Jacksonville, and then the winner would play Baltimore.
yeah, which that would be fun. That
Joe
would
Flacco
be
versus the Ravens. That would be
to beat the
funny.
Ravens to go to the AFC Championship game. Sign me the fuck up, man. Sign
The
me up
beat
for that.
Give me Baltimore in Baltimore with Joe Flacco. Like, oh baby, they're gonna be like, what the fuck is this? Like nobody thought this shit was gonna happen.
No. And again, it's like on Good Morning America, or not Good Morning America, but
Such a great show.
yeah. But
Good morning football.
they were saying that the Browns are one of those teams that like nobody wants to play. And even
Exactly.
and even the Pat McAfee show was saying that same thing too, where teams just don't really want to play us because our defense is just so elite, and I'm really glad we didn't become the Jets because the Jets have a really good defense, and they just have not had good quarterback play, and they've
Yeah.
pretty much just entirely wasted this year. And I feel so bad for guys like Garrett Wilson, who are young and like ready to sprout and ready to really wreck the league
Yeah.
up, and he just hasn't had good quarterback play. He's had Zach Wilson, and it's just been that cannot be fun for a guy like that. So for the Browns to at least come away with having Flacco after
Mhm.
everything, what a blessing it has been. And now you even have guys like Cooper who is getting ready to have or become the first Browns player ever in the history of the Browns to have back-to-back 1,000-yard receiving seasons. That is also insane too because we've had some pretty decent receivers, over the years,
Yeah.
but I mean Coop's been the real deal. He's been very very consistent and my gosh, like we've just been blessed with, some really good players, some really good coaching and hey man, if this is going to be the year to do it, this is the year to do it because it's been such a weird season. You might as well top it off with the Browns Super Bowl,
If we
right?
win a Super Bowl, I'm buying a Joe Flacco jersey
Oh,
immediately.
dude, Joe Flacco will get a bigger statue there than LeBron will get. Straight
Oh, a
up.
million percent.
Like
Like Joe Flacco become the savior of Cleveland. Like,
at 38 years old, just winning himself a Super Bowl, saying, "Hey, I didn't think I was gonna do this," but the thing that would suck about that is if that were to happen, oh my god, the conversations with, oh, does Watson start? Do we try to trade Watson? Did we try to do this? And it's like, I almost don't want that. And I
yeah.
mean, regardless, even if we go to the playoffs, which we probably will, there's still going to be those people that are going to have those types of
I've already seen it on
conversations.
Twitter.
It
Do we
has, yeah.
start? Do we start Deshaun Watson? Do we make Joe Flacco? It's like if like Joe Flacco's probably just gonna retire after the season anyways.
Yeah, I mean he
Like
might. I mean he might try to play, and like if he tries to play,
he might go
if he
somewhere else
wants
to
to
try and
come
play.
right, and like if he wants to come back, great. Like that's awesome. But like,
Like I wouldn't mind having him as a backup and making
yeah,
DTR the third string, and
yeah.
Joe
And then that
Flacco
room is
teaches
just chilling.
DTR.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and then that room is just chilling for the whole season,
but
and that would be great.
but if there's a team that is in desperate need of a quarterback for at least a year, like your New England Patriots or something, they might go after Joe Flacco and be like, listen, we just need someone for a year so we
Yeah,
could draft a quarterback next year or something. Like, do you want, like, we'll pay you good money to be our starter for the season. Then Joe
right.
Flacco might go elsewhere. If he could be the main starter, he might go elsewhere and start.
Yeah,
Now, if not, then I'm sure he might be happy to stay and be, kick PJ Walker out and be the backup quarterback. But
yeah.
and I wouldn't be mad at that either. In case
Oh,
Deshaun went down again, like, okay, cool, we have Joe Flacco, like that's
yeah.
fine. Like,
I mean, listen, as long as PJ doesn't return, that's all I care about. I don't want him on this team personally. He won us some games. It's great. I'm
ooh, that's some
ecstatic
news.
that he did, but my goodness, yeah, I
I
just
just saw
couldn't do it.
some. I just saw some news on my phone that Trevor Lawrence
That's playing.
has is unlikely to play this week because of a concussion.
Oh, a concussion now. Shit. Yeah, dude. The Jags are, one of those teams that are getting beat up now too, and they're getting beat up at the worst time.
And
Um,
again, if you play him in the first round of the playoffs, that could be the biggest blessing in disguise. Go there, just
absolutely.
womp on them, and
Take care of business.
have Deshaun or have Joe Flacco go back to Baltimore and
Yes, sir.
just let
I'm so
them rain
excited
hell
for
on
that.
them.
I mean, I would love that. So let's just hope that that happens because that would make this season just so, so, so much fun. Oh my gosh. But all right, so we've been talking quite a bit of Browns so far. I do want to switch it up a little bit
Mm-hmm.
because our Cavaliers having a little, bit of a bright spot, as of late. And the main guy that I want to bring up is the white boy, Sam Merrill, has been
Dude,
a walking bucket. And we've talked about wanting him in the sort of Caps rotation because we obviously have some injuries. Um, my gosh, has this kid been awesome? He's been so fun to watch.
It's so funny when I went to a Cavs game like a month ago. It was his first appearance with the Cavs, and I was sitting next to these like 18-year-old kids or whatever. Me and my girlfriend, and I was like, I just want to see Sam Merrill because like all the good things I heard from him on a charge, where he just like basically just lighting it up like Steph Curry from three.
All right.
And all those stories you heard of like, oh, he had like 8 threes in like multiple games, and like during the
Right.
charge, like when he played for Cleveland Charge and stuff like that. I was like, we could use a spot up shooter like that,
Yeah.
like another like Kyle Korver type esque play. And the funny thing is like, I was like, why? I was like, watch, they're gonna put in Sam Merrill and he's just gonna go off. And as soon as I said that, he gets the ball out of the corner for a three, just bangs it over some dude. And I'm like, oh my god, this dude's gonna light it up. I swear to
Yeah.
God.
Like,
And he
he's
think he had like
exactly what we need.
and he had 5 threes that game and just smacked them. I'm like, oh my god, this is insane. And of course, last night he led the team in points last night.
Yeah.
He led the team in points with 27 points, and he went God, what was it? He went 8 for 14 from three,
Yeah, just lighting it up.
and he had one because he had nine. He made 9 baskets, and 8 of them were threes. Like,
I mean, that's what we need. Like, we need a guy that's able to just be a spot up shooter and nothing else. Like, that is nice to have, especially for your bench and even just the rotation in general. We need that.
well, even just the it's not even just the spot up shooting that he provides. It's what Kyle Korver used to do for us all the time, and it was open players up
Yeah.
because one of the plays, Karis LeVert hit a wide open three, and it's because Sam Merrill does what Kyle Korver does. He runs all around the perimeter,
And everybody
and
has to
he
look
drew
for him.
and he drew 2 defenders with him, and that left Karis LeVert wide open for a three, and it's like that's what you need on the court is a guy who can open up space for your Darius Garlands, your Donovan Mitchells,
Yeah.
because just him running around is going to draw defenders because they're like, oh shit, we can't let this dude get open because he's gonna knock it down. Like if we leave him open, it's like having Kyle Korver out there again.
Yeah.
Where Kyle Korver just ran around the fucking like the entirety of the fucking
Yep.
basket, and everyone's like, we gotta get someone on it before they get him open, and he's just gonna pull up real quick and spray a three on us. Like we can't have that. So 2 people would chase after him. It's like, oh, this guy's wide open, and here you go, like easy basket. And just that presence alone is great to have on the floor because you don't need him to make baskets. You just need him to open up the space on the floor, and that's
Yeah.
what he does so well. Because everyone's afraid that once he touches the ball, he's got that quick release, man. He's got that Korver release. He'll just sit there and quickly pull up Ray Allen style, Korver style, and just knock it down. Like you have to keep someone on him at all times, and he's gonna draw defenders away, and it's gonna lead to easy buckets.
Yeah. I mean, the dude doesn't lack any sort of confidence. He will
No.
let it fly whenever, and that's great. Like that's what we need. We definitely need some scoring, especially off the bench. I like him off the bench, and I think that can just really pave a good way for that bat, the backup unit because that's one thing that we've always talked about with JB was his just rotations were terrible, and you
Yeah.
just wonder like, when Garland comes back, does he keep him in the rotation or does he go back to having 8 minutes a game? I don't want that,
I think you
and
keep him in.
I mean you have to, especially if he's doing what he's doing, you have to let him in
And
because
the one guy I also too want to see, and that's been balling into G League right now, is Imani Bates. Like
Bobby Bates.
he's gotten like very little time in the league too. And I mean, if you look at his G League highlights, oh my god, he is balling out. He's averaging like
Yeah.
what, almost 30 a night.
Yeah, it's something crazy.
And it's beyond. Like I'm about to look this up, but dude, it's crazy because like he's on the bench. The Cavs are right as we're recording. The Cavs are playing right now. They're playing New Orleans as we're speaking right now.
Yeah,
The Cavs are down.
today, I think.
Yeah, the Cavs are down 36-28 going into the second quarter. Still no Garland, still no Donovan Mitchell, but yeah, like Imani Bates is just sitting on the bench right now, and he hasn't seen the court yet, and it's crazy because I think he deserves to be out there.
Yeah, at least for a good like 5 to 10 minutes a game, like just to see what the kid's got. And if he starts playing well, you give him more minutes. And I mean, these young guys are fun to watch, man. You can't like not play them. It's just like how we were with the Guardians, this year. Just having guys that you wanted to see more of, and the manager just was not wanting to put them out there that much. And it's just like, why? Like, why? What do you have to lose?
Yeah.
Nothing.
So I looked it up. Imani Bates is averaging 34 minutes. He is averaging 25 points. What else? 25 points, 5 rebounds, and 2 assists.
Damn.
And he's averaging about 4 threes a game. His free throw percentage is at like 75%. I mean,
Interesting.
kids balling, man. He's averaging 25 a night. I think he's the league leader in scoring too. I mean, I don't see why this kid is not getting the love that
Yeah,
he
you just
deserves.
don't understand why guys like him aren't getting minutes. Like, I mean, you do, but you're like, you could play him, especially with how everything's going with some of
Hmm.
the injuries that we've had. There's no reason why you can't um play these guys. There's just no reason why you can't play them, and it baffles my mind that JB still has a has a say in this in this team. The fact that he's still the coach kind of upsets me because I just don't like JJJB. I think he holds this team back from
Everyone hates
so
JB.
much. Like he really does hold this team back from so much, and it just infuriates me to no end. It really does.
Yeah, dude, I hear you, and I just looked it up too. Imani Bates is fourth in scoring in the G League.
Like, and like again, I get it. It's the G League, okay, and I get it. The guys have a different, schedule, so you don't want them to play these back to backs. But also, guys like Amani Bates have an unlimited amount of energy. These guys can play these games and be fine.
Well, and especially like
Give them a
tonight, like
chance.
you're not like you have nothing to lose tonight. I mean, you might as well just let him go in there for a few minutes and let him get some shots up and let him get some time in. It's only gonna make him better once he gets more time. Like I don't see why JB's just in there like, oh well, we're gonna have him on the bench, but we're not gonna play him
Right.
because right now who's playing over like Isaac Okoro? Like okay, cool. Dean Wade, sick.
Dean Wade. Dean Wade is a guy that I would love for them to trade away for just something or like someone because he's just one of those guys I'm just not a fan of. I mean, Okoro's fine. He's young. He's a good guy
He's
to
a good
have for
defender.
defense, and he's
Yeah, he's a great
super
defender.
athletic. He's just not a shooter. Like if you had a chance to play him or play Sam Merrill, I think you give Sam Merrill more minutes just because of his presence on offense. But I mean, Okoro can pretty much defend a lot of people, so
Well, I
that's
also
his
like
upside.
Okoro too because he's not afraid to drive to the basket and take contact and stuff like that too. So he's kind of like a fearless offensive player, but again, like you said, he cannot shoot to save his life. His shot is so broken, is so bad. Like he
Yeah,
cannot shoot to save his life.
and he's so inconsistent with it. Like there's times where
Yeah.
he is really good with it, and then there's times where he just has these games where he's like 2 of 10. Like it's like a Jetty Osman type of night, and you're like, what
As
the
I as
hell are
I
you doing?
as we said that Isaac Okoro makes a three.
Nice. I mean, hey, listen, if that's what I got to do to get him to score some threes, then you know what? I'll take it. I will. I'll take it.
I think it's funny at the beginning of the year when sports betting became legal in Ohio. Me and my brother always bet Isaac Okoro like over like 0.5 threes,
Yeah.
like over like half a three. And then he would always make one. It's like easy money, cha-ching, 1 3, and he would only have like 1 3 that entire
Yeah.
game. I was like, let's go, baby, over one, over a half a three.
Yeah. It is. It's so funny.
I
Oh
always make
gosh.
that bet.
Hell yeah. All right. So we got about 10 more minutes left here until we hit an hour. So what I want to do is switch it up a little bit and talk some OSU since we have not done that in a little bit, at least since we lost, which still sucks. But Ohio State did not have a bad day yesterday, having some big time signings.
Oh yeah,
Uh, Jeremiah Smith at the top of the food chain there. Um, that was
big
a
guy.
big one, like especially with how these guys were starting to flip because they were just getting better deals. To still have a recruiting class the way they did, still having Jeremiah Smith, Aaron Nolan. They had the DN. Forget his name, um, but
I have the
just
list up here.
yeah,
Are you talking about Edric Houston?
yes, yes, he's a big boy.
Yeah, 6'3", 265. Like the dude's
Yeah, at
massive.
Georgia, and then also landing another 5-star, receiver in Mylan Graham. That's
Yep.
huge. Aaron Scott out of Springfield, Ohio. I
James
think it's a
Peoples,
different Springfield.
good running
Yeah,
back. James Peoples is a good running back. Cade Stover's brother, Garrett Stover.
yep, yep. So I was just telling Andrew earlier, my brother, who plays for Lake, they played Garrett, and he said the kid went off. He had like 15 or like 16 tackles. It was something absurd, and they barely won. It was like a double overtime game. That they won literally by a PAT, I think.
And
So
you said
like,
he plays as a linebacker, right?
yes, sir.
Because
Yes,
it
he's a
has
five
him
star.
listed. It has him listed as a safety too.
Interesting. He's probably tall enough, and like he's
He's
probably
he's
not a
6 foot
huge
one
guy.
ninety five.
Yeah, so I mean, he's not a huge guy, but he's only going to be a freshman. He probably won't play the
Yeah,
first year, but he's going to be fun to watch. And obviously, Cade started as a linebacker and then moved over to, his current tight end position. So you just never know, what those kids could turn into. But again, getting a lot of these guys that they had, um, I know they landed two brothers from Lakewood. They're both linemen. They're both guards, I think.
yeah,
And just stacking it up. Like everybody was really giving Ohio State a lot of shit because they were not getting these guys in the portal. They weren't getting guys that were starting to commit and going to other places, and they still landed a solid recruiting class. So like everybody just needs to pump the brakes on when guys do that because like that's what college football is now.
yeah,
And with the NIL, it's just gonna make for guys flipping because they're gonna get a lot of money going to places like a Miami, or just something that can accrue a lot of money to keep them there. And although like Ohio State is a big college, and they definitely generate plenty of money, they still have a lot of guys playing for them now that are probably still making bank, and they're gonna have guys that are probably gonna come back. I've heard that Ibuka is gonna come back, which is big for that room, and we still don't know about Harrison either. Like Marvin Harrison could very well come back just because he wants to be that team up north and win.
I think he's
Big
also
Ten.
waiting on the quarterback situation to see like
Yeah,
who's the named starter. I think that's going to play a big factor in this decision of whether or not he wants to stay or not, and especially with this bowl game coming up too. I think that's also going to be a big beneficiary of whether or
yeah,
not he stays or because if Devin Brown balls out in this bowl game, I'm sure that Marvin Harrison's like I could stay one more year because at that point Marvin Harrison's already a top 10 pick at this point.
yeah. He
He'll
is.
probably if he balls out next year if he stays at Ohio State, he's probably going to be a solidified number one
Yeah,
or a solidified top three at least.
yeah.
And the biggest W two is Ohio State ranked sixth in in college football for uh recruiting.
Mm,
Michigan 19th,
yeah, yeah.
and
Barely
Michigan
top 20.
Michigan zero 5-star recruits. Ohio State with the most with five.
Yeah. And especially with the wide receivers like that's just a big shout out to Brian
Yeah,
Hartline. Like the dude continues to just recruit so many good, solid athletes, and not all of them have stuck. I mean, Julian Fleming is one guy that was a 5-star recruit that just did not get his feet under him because he was hurt, and he had guys above him that were balling out.
yeah,
I mean, he came up with a really like hard group to really, you know, have his feet set on that team. It was just going to be hard with him. Like he had 3 or 4 or 5 guys that were above him every time. Um, so it's just unfortunate, but like this team is going to be a lot of fun this coming year because there's going to be a lot of young talent that is going to come in that could really play, and guys that are there now that are going to get a chance to play because guys are going to move on. And one of them is going to be Tate freaking Martell. I'm so ready to see this kid ball out. He is a receiver that I have been waiting for them to really really use because he is such a big body, and he could really really like play very very well for them.
Yeah.
And they just have an abundance of guys, and it's just a quick shout out to Brian Hartline, who is just recruiting out of his mind. The dude just knows how to, you know, also build guys to be really good, solid NFL, you know, ready guys, and I think that's a lot more. Of a bigger reason why these guys are starting to come here is just because they know like what we've produced the last few years in terms of receivers, like even for the past 10 years. I mean, we've had so many big time guys that have come out of this program, and it's mildly because of Brian Hartline. And
Yep.
you just got to give the guy credit, and these kids are going to be in for some good years. So we'll see how that goes. I just the only thing that I truly care about when it comes to this team is beating that team up north. That's all I want to see. It's all I
Yep.
care about. Um, and we'll see. We will see if we do it this next year because if we don't, it's going to be because Ryan Day is going to be the guy out.
Yeah, and he can't blame Kyle McCord this time. He doesn't have it out this time. Like, if he can't win, it's on him. Like, he has
Yeah.
no out this time around. So, got to focus on beating that team up north this year.
Yeah.
That's the main goal. That's the main focus.
It would be nice for us to at least win this bowl game too, like
Yeah.
especially against a SEC team. That would be nice to just shove in
Yeah.
everybody's face, but hey, you guys, you know, let left us out of the top four, and this is the result. Because I guarantee you that team up north is going to get beat.
They're going to get
Uh,
smoked.
I think Alabama's going to beat them because I think Alabama is a pretty good, solid team, and they've gotten better as the season has progressed because that quarterback's playing better.
Also, just
And
feel
that's what
bad
they
for.
need.
I also feel bad for FSU because I feel like
Yeah,
FSU kind
I
of
do
got cheated
too.
out.
Yeah, it's
Because
been
all because their main quarterback went down. And everyone's like, well, you can't put him to backup because he's gonna get his ass kicked. And it's like, well, look at Ohio State. We
yeah,
started,
2015 Ohio
yeah,
State team. Like we had Carlo Jones, who didn't even have reps until the
he was a
Big
third
Ten
string
championship
quarterback,
game. Yeah, until the Big Ten championship game, he
and he lit it
finally
up.
got reps, and he lit it up. Zeke, lit it up, and that defense was just unbelievable as well. I mean, that defense was disgusting.
Yeah,
Um, we just we found ways to win, and you just can't deny that, especially in college. Like college is such a different game than the pros. Like any team can win in college. I truly believe that. I mean, even if you look at freaking TCU last year, even though they got their ass handed to them by Georgia, they still beat that team up north, and they still competed really really well up
yeah,
until the Georgia game. So teams can do whatever they want in college. Like it's it's a given. Let these kids play. The kids remained undefeated. They were gonna have the backup back. Like they were gonna probably be fine. Um, it does suck, but I still think the top four teams that are in are gonna make for some really fun games.
oh, absolutely,
But yeah, I'm really rooting, and I don't like to root for Bama, but I'm really rooting for Bama to beat that team up north because I am
oh,
sick of
god,
their
yeah,
fans. And the NCAA just opened up their investigations on the two things that have gone on this year for that team up north. So these next few weeks after the bowl games are going to be really, really. interesting to see what they
Yeah,
find
we're
from
probably
that.
gonna get some big news after the new year or
I
something.
think, yeah, I think so too. Like, I think after the game, especially, is when shit's gonna start dropping out, and people are gonna be like, "Oh, that happened." Like, it's gonna get bad. I
It's gonna
really
get
do think it's gonna
dicey
get bad.
because I also saw there's links to um Harbaugh getting some head coaching jobs in the NFL. I saw like links to like oh god, like Arizona, or I saw him linked to most recently to the Chargers after they fired Brandon Staley. Everyone's saying that Harbaugh is potentially looking at that job down there in LA to be the new head coach for the Chargers. So if that does happen, then we know there's some shady shit going down because he won't be looking at this job if he doesn't know what's going to happen.
Yeah.
So if something bad's gonna happen, Harbaugh's already found his out. He's probably gonna look at that LA vacancy and be like, that looks pretty interesting and pretty tasty. Like
Right.
I might make my way back into the NFL. Like, and then we're all gonna be like, yeah, his ass cheated because there's no
Yeah.
way he's gonna escape Michigan to go to back to the NFL and be like, well, I've
Yeah.
always wanted to go back to the NFL. Like, yeah,
Yeah.
no, you we know
Yeah.
what
You
you
know
did.
what? I think I want to coach Herbert now. Like, because that's what's gonna happen. He's gonna go to
Hmm.
LA. He's gonna
He's
coach
gonna
the
be the
Chargers.
yeah,
I
yeah,
think that's gonna happen.
because it's been heavily linked that he could be the new Chargers head coach when the season's over. So if that does happen, we know what's been going on with Michigan, and this. And like we said before, the last few weeks, man, this could be the eventual downfall of the University of Michigan's football program. Because I'm sure you're gonna see a lot of those kids go to the transfer portal, and you're gonna see a lot of those kids decommit,
Yeah.
and we're gonna see Ohio State probably get a lot of those kids too.
Yeah. So I mean, it's gonna be interesting. We'll see how it goes.
Yeah.
Um, that is pretty much all I got for us today. Besides a final score predict for the good old Brownies. Again, this is gonna be another weird game. I think it's not gonna be necessarily high scoring. But I do think the Browns can pull it out. I don't see why they can't. Um, we're on the road though, right? Like this is
We're in
in,
Houston.
yeah, we're in Houston. So that's the only thing that sucks is we just don't play well on the road, and
Yeah.
obviously in comparison to playing at home. So, I'm still gonna say Browns are gonna win like 21-13. Like I think it's gonna be, just one of those games that isn't gonna be super high scoring. But the Browns D defense is going to continue to take care of business as long as they can get to Keenum and sack him and
Yeah.
try to get him to create turnovers. It's going to be easy peasy.
Yeah, I'm gonna go with an easy 20-14. Um, Again, it's gonna be a very, very defensive game. I think because both teams have very solid. Obviously, the Texans have a solid defense as well. I
Yeah.
think this is gonna be another one of those defensive matchups. And unless Flacco makes minimal mistakes and still throws for 350 yards, I don't see this game being super high scoring.
Yeah. I mean, I don't either. The one hope that I do have is I hope we get the run game going a little bit this week. Um, and obviously with Ford, it hasn't worked. I would love for them to,
I think it's also tough too with the line being so decimated
yeah.
that they can't really block for shit right now. And
Yeah, but you know what? Run blocking is a easier to do for
then
these
pass
guys
blocking.
than pass ball blocking. So you would think they would want to try to run the ball, especially if you're not going to have Batonio. It sounds like we might get Poachage back, so that's nice. So I
Let
mean,
me
now
look at
you,
the injury report real quick.
yeah, I'm pretty sure Poachage was either limited or full, and I
Uh,
don't know what Batonio was. I know
Batonio was uh did not practice yesterday and
makes
today.
sense.
Jared Christian was limited all week,
Yeah.
so Jared Christian might come back because he was out for that game too on Sunday. Um, where is he? Pochich. He was limited all week,
Okay.
so there's a good chance that he comes back. And obviously, I mean, hell, even if you just leave Nick Harris as the center and you put Pochich in for up in the middle or something, like as a guard. Allow him to at least find some way, like because I think Nick Harris is a great center. I think he's a solid center. I think he does a good
He
job.
could play guard too.
Yeah, as long as one of them moves to a guard position, you just take out one of the backups. I mean, I think that's pretty solid enough because then you just have to worry about your edge tackles and
Yeah.
I mean, we gotta figure out some way to get rid of James Hudson.
Yeah, my gosh, man, he's okay, but he's just not great. Like it's not what we have had.
He's good as a this is where we talk. He's a good run blocker, but as a
Yeah.
pass blocker, he is absolutely atrocious. He cannot stop. He cannot. He allows people to bull rush him so quickly and so easily
And he gets like false starts and like holdings
every
and
single
stuff on him a
time.
lot. So it's like that's one of those things where it just makes it so hard to like want the kid to stay in the lineup, but we kind of have to. We don't really have a freaking choice, which stinks.
I did hear from Tyvis Powell from UCSS,
Yeah.
and he said what the Browns should do is they should look at other teams' practice squads
Yeah.
and try and snag a tackle off of the practice squad if you can.
Mm.
Because I mean, you can sign people, right now, but he said find a team that has a kind of like the same offensive scheme as you, and just snag one of the best tackles from the practice squad that you can get them for dirt cheap, and if you find one that's in the same scheme as you, that's great because you won't have to teach them much. You just gotta
Right.
get them out there and just get them to block.
Yeah, for real. Yeah, that's all. That's really all you need is just a solid pass protector, man. That's all we need.
So, and
all
I
we
agreed
need.
with that. I was like, especially before the playoffs, you should probably try and go out and get at least someone off a practice squad and just kind of be like, listen, we can't just rely on James Hudson getting crushed every single play. Like, we can't have that and him getting a false start.
Yep.
Like we need someone here who can at least stay steady and actually make some decent blocks and keep Joe Flacco upright.
Yeah. Yeah. It would be nice, but we'll
It would
see
be
what,
nice.
AB does, I guess. But that is going to do it for us. Andrew, it was good talking with you, once again. Thanks again for having to muscle through the cough because I know you had to mute quite a few times to get
Quite a few
through
times,
that cough.
yeah.
So I appreciate it, man.
Next week will be better.
Yes. So yeah, guys, we will see you guys next week, hopefully with the Browns at 10-5. Prayer circle.
Prayer circle.
All right, we'll see you guys later.
See ya.